If you try growing traditional veggies down here in the South in the dead of summer, you will fail. But don't worry, I have 10 alternatives that grow like weeds, thrive on neglect, and they actually taste good. So let's start with our first one, this one right behind me. So instead of growing white potatoes or Irish potatoes, how about you try growing sweet potatoes? Sweet potatoes absolutely love the heat. I mean, love the heat. And they also like a really long growing season. So they take anywhere from 3 to 6 months to grow the roots of this vegetable. But they want nice, hot, humid weather during that time period. So these are perfect alternatives to regular potatoes. And in a lot of ways, you can eat them very similarly, especially if you harvest them and don't allow them to cure. I don't know if you know this about sweet potatoes, but if you don't let them cure, if you eat them right away, right exactly coming out of the garden, they don't really have that sweet of a taste. They taste a little bit more like traditional white potatoes. There's also varieties, like one I'm growing this year called Hayman's, that is a white sweet potato. So not only will it taste very similar to a potato if I don't allow it to cure, but it will also look like a regular potato. So definitely give these guys a shot. And if you want to learn more about growing them, I will make sure to put the video at the end of this video on growing sweet potatoes from store-bought sweet potatoes. Let's move on to our next one. Our second alternative on the list is, instead of growing onions or bulbing onions, grow green onions or bunching onions, or I think they're also called scallions and spring onions. These guys obviously don't have the same look and feel, but they do still have that really nice onion taste. A bit milder than your traditional onions, but when you use them for cooking or as a garnish on top, it gives you that onion flavor. And they grow all year round, not just during summer. As you can see, these guys have gotten very, very big. These were bunching onions that I started from the bottoms of onions that I bought at the grocery store. Can you believe that? Once I was done using the green onions from the grocery store, I left the bottom tips on that have the root, and I buried them in my garden, and look how big they've gotten. The next one on the list is Seminole pumpkins, and that is my Seminole pumpkin. Now this is a perfect example of a type of vegetable where the variety might do better. So instead of getting a butternut squash, like a Waltham butternut squash, we grow Seminole pumpkins during the summer because, well, they like the heat. Besides really liking the heat, they also are super resistant to squash vine borers because they are part of the Machetta, I think that's how you pronounce it, Machetta family. And so this is a particular type of squash family that does well in the heat and also has a nice, really thick rind. They will produce so many pumpkin, and as you can see, you can grow them a lot of different ways. And if you don't have space on the ground in your garden bed, how about try growing them up a tree like the traditional way it was done back with our Native Americans. Now we're slowly starting to get away from the vegetables that are familiar to us to a couple that are maybe a little less familiar, but still just as good. This guy right back here is what's called a Thai soldier bean. You can definitely grow it up a trellis, but in the past I have grown them, just let them go wild, and they usually do just fine. But as you can see, this guy got a little bit out of control. And these are very similar to green beans. You can see that the beans are a little bit different. They're long. This is a type of long bean, but they also have like a purplish color on them as well. That even stays once you've cooked them. They don't turn completely green. But these are prolific. This is 1 day's worth of harvest from a Thai soldier beans. And even more amazing is they pretty much taste just like green beans. If you can get over the size and the weirdness of color, they're really, really good. And one of my favorite ways is to pick them when they're super skinny and super young. like this guy right here. You can see he is so skinny, almost like a French green bean. And then I roast him in the oven at 400 for 20 minutes with a little olive oil and some seasoning salt. And oh my gosh, it's crispy, yummy, amazing goodness. Now the next one on the list is a little bit of a stretch, but they are so good. And that's these guys right here. These are cow peas, but not just any cow peas. These are Whipperwill cow peas. These guys right here. And they look like tiny pinto beans. So if you're not a fan of cow peas, which if you're not familiar, cow peas are black-eyed peas. Not all black-eyed peas look the same. These guys look like pinto beans, like baby pinto beans. And I think they taste so amazing. I don't think that they have that black-eyed pea taste. To me, they taste like a good, solid bean, almost like a small red bean or like a tiny pinto bean. And they grow so easy, guys, so easy. Love the heat so much. They don't need a trellis, as you can see here. They probably do well with a trellis, but I never trellis mine. I toss the seeds in the beds, and within a few months, you have beans. Wait for them to dry, pick them, leave them out to dry for a couple days as beans, and then store them in a glass container. The next one on the list is probably going to be a little bit different, but that has to do with greens. This particular guy right here, this is Egyptian spinach. I know, it doesn't look like spinach, we're getting a little far here, but it tastes just like spinach. It loves to grow in the heat. And honestly, like, I do nothing to this thing but cut it down and it just continues to grow. This is one plant. So if you had a couple of these plants in your summer garden, they would produce so heavily all your greens for you that you would have everything that you need for that time. Now the leaf shape is different than spinach, so it is something that you have to get used to, but it cooks down like spinach with that soft spinach texture. It freezes like spinach. You can make spinach dip with it. You can do everything that you can do with a regular spinach. Down here, right next to it, is our kale. Here, let me bring you in. This guy's looking a little rough because I didn't give him the sun that he wanted, but you can see that this is just like any other kale. Well, not exactly. This is Ethiopian kale, and Ethiopian kale is one of the few kales that really grows well during the summer, and I say well for a reason. Other kales do grow well, like Red Russian will grow, dinosaur kale will grow, but it starts to become riddled with bugs and it starts to get kind of bitter and not tasting that great. It tastes okay, but Ethiopian kale keeps its sweet taste, keeps its crunchy texture. It is just designed for growing in the heat. So if you're a big kale fan, this is the guy to grow during that deep summer heat. He will never taste bitter, he will always be sweet, and he's going to grow abundantly. But give him a little bit of shade. As much as he loves the sun, maybe not that much. The next one I know you guys are going to love, which is garlic. You cannot grow traditional garlic during the summer here in Florida, unfortunately. In fact, it's even kind of hard to grow it during the winter, but it can be done, so make sure you check out that video next. In order to grow a plant that has that garlic taste though, try society garlic. I have this plant of society garlic out in my front yard and it is prolific, requires nothing from me and lives all year round, not just summer. It will put off these beautiful, pinkish red flowers and grow these beautiful green stalks. It is a gorgeous plant. But please be careful because while yes, it is a great substitute for garlic, it is intensely garlic. It is not like a wimpy little garlic clove. It is intense garlic. So try a tiny bit before you start putting it all over your dish. My poor sister had one nice sized bite from the garden and all she could taste all day long was garlic. So you know that's a great substitute for this little guy. Now the next one on the list is down here in this little corner, and that is a Loofah Gourd. This is my very first one, so I'm very excited. I have not grown them before, but I have tried them, and they are a great replacement for summer squash. Loofahs love to grow in the heat, but they do get very big. And I think I underestimated how large these plants get. It has taken up the entire trellis and it's going right back over, and I suspect it's going to do that a couple more times. Now, its name says loofah, and you are thinking correctly. Loofahs actually make the loofah sponge that you use in your house for cleaning or for washing your body in the shower. But if you pick them off when they're very small and immature, you can eat them like a summer squash. Not exactly the same, but very close enough to be able to do it. I've also been able to grow a couple other types of squashes. I have a patty pan squash that has been growing, but not as prolific as these guys. These guys love this weather. They basically laugh at the squash vine borer. They are not bothered by any of the pests, any of the disease, and the glaring sun. They could care less. It's a great one to grow. But leave a couple on to fully mature so you have some nice sponges to give to people during Christmas. Now these big plants all the way over here are my Roselle plants. Roselles are interesting because they're not exactly like a cranberry, which is what they taste like. Cranberries are the little tiny red berries that we get at Thanksgiving. I really don't know many people who actually grow cranberries. I think that they're like an aquatic up north type plant. I could be wrong. But Roselles are a great tropical variety that you can grow in your backyard without water and strange temperatures. They grow during the heat of the summer. The strange part about a Roselle is the part that you eat, or the part that's the fruit. I don't know. So that part is the flower, kind of, the calyx of the flower. So when you have a flower and it blooms, right, you got a bloom, you have that little cap on the bottom part of the flower. That is called a calyx. And that's the part that we eat as a fruit on the Roselle plant. They're bright red, they're very beautiful. I love them in teas, and last year I made fake cranberry jam using Roselle, and I'm telling you what, my family actually liked it more than actual cranberry sauce. Has a great texture, it has that perfect cranberry taste, and it is just amazing. I'm addicted to it. I tried to grow as many plants as I could. I should have grown even more. The more I look at them, the more I'm like, it's not enough. So make sure you get out there and try this little hibiscus Roselle. And the last one on our list of 10 today is the mulberry. And it's these little guys right here. These are berries and they taste very much like blackberries. You do want to let them go all the way to that black color and you get like the most sweet, amazing little berry taste. While my blackberries have fizzled out, my strawberries have fizzled out, my blueberries have fizzled out, this guy continues to go. And it is so good and so abundant. I put this tree in 4 months ago. 4 months. And I'm still getting berries. How's that for the perfect summer plant? So there you have it, my top 10 favorite things to grow during the summer down here in Florida where I live. These are great alternatives to the traditional veggies that probably want to fight us trying to grow this time of year. I know that some of them seemed a little bit weird, a little out of our element, but guys, give them a try. Just give one a try. And I promise you that you are going to love them. And they're going to keep you fed and your garden growing so well during the summer months. If you want to watch a couple more of my videos between now and my next upload, I'm going to pop those up right here, including the store-bought sweet potatoes and the garlic in Florida. Happy gardening, guys!